We have a full house. I'm really happy to see everyone. I see familiar faces and a baby even who wants to get some marketing tips. Everyone can hear me? Yeah?
You're never too young.
Exactly. Yeah. Start from before the startup even started. So I'm going to just talk about some kind of like tactics that we use for our clients. We being me and my twin sister. She's not here. She's still in London. The British accent hopefully helps as what Sivan said. So we help startups once they've had funding to kind of prove themselves and get the growth they need. We do it through various tactics, as much as free as possible. I don't believe in really spending a lot because it doesn't always prove results. So we'll just get started. Is this the clicker? It doesn't work.
It doesn't seem to work now.
Okay, so hi, I'm Stefanie. You can call me Steph. You can find me on all channels as Steph Amini. So if you want to find Twitter, Instagram, I do a lot of stories. So today I want to talk about kind of like zero budget marketing. It's the idea of not spending a lot or spending very little in order to get kind of bring establish some kind of like awareness into the market. I want to talk about how you can kind of like become a growth hacker, even though it's not such a great term to talk about because it sounds dirty to be a growth hacker, but it's basically free marketing. And then also talking about kind of like some tools, whether it's the Twitter and Facebook, or if it's kind of some extra things that we can use, and also just the key takeaways that we can take from it. I'm glad Sivan talked a lot about viral marketing because it's something that I'll talk about later. She specifically mentioned the Red Bull campaigns. I was that person that was paying to have you see those Red Bull campaigns. So it wasn't really a viral campaign. It's all paid traffic. So I want to talk about building a community, using content, using creative tools, and using your product to get feedback and kind of getting them to join into the marketing. So it is about being free and getting as many users as you can. It's about thinking outside the box. So I always describe like growth hacking and free marketing is about going through the window and not through the door. So that means that instead of saying, hey, I'm Bob, who I have a great tool, you go to an expert or the decision maker in like GoDaddy and ask him to do an interview for your blog. So these are kind of tactics that you can use, and this is what it means to kind of go through the window, because then he's going to share it on his social media because he was interviewed and no one ever asked the head of sales to speak about what he does at GoDaddy. So this is the kind of thing, and it's free marketing is about kind of being unconventional and kind of like just being a bit more creative, using some tools. There's something for everyone, just Google it. There's always something that's either got a free version or it's just free altogether, and just to be focused and creative. So I just want to reiterate the things that you need is just to be able to use the right tools to bring awareness, growth, and reach. So you want traction, but you don't need to like have that like myth of like everyone needs to hear what you have to say. It's the 2 or 3 people who can like eventually pay to be your customer or a user or download the app. And if you are pre-launch, I don't know if anyone is in here, don't do a whole coming soon kind of teaser thing. People don't have time for it. They have about 3 seconds before they move on. They're not going to be like, ooh, something's coming soon. I want to hear about it. I'm going to like the page, and then they're going to hope that you'll come back to them eventually, and through various methods. People have accepted that they're being retargeted these days. So just go out and talk about what you do and get people interested from the beginning. So hopefully we can just get some reality checks here, just some new thinking methods, and be creative. So we'll just get started. So everyone talks about content being king. So it is whatever content you want to talk about, whether it's blog content, video, webinars, whatever it is. These are the things that you need to be thinking about from the get-go. So if you're just starting out in your team, or if you've been given the role of like head of marketing in a startup, it is about saying, okay, we need to tell people what we do, but we need to also tell them about what the ecosystem does and what the possibilities are. So, if it is about creating a blog post or a blog in general, it should be really about the industry and not about your product. So it shouldn't be the I'm using TV, the TV's blog. It should be entertainment. It should be focused on, you know, all these different kinds of industries and ecosystems that surround your product, which will draw in the perfect decision maker for your blog. So be creative with the content. You can do some videos. You can, you know, share that content on all your different channels. But it is about creating an ecosystem that people will eventually draw to and come through. Webinars. How long until we get there? So webinars are the same thing. You want to create content that is not drilling into the person, saying, my product's the best, use it, these are the features and things like that. You want to kind of, and even if possible, collaborate with an industry partner or a competitor and say, we're both in for the same potential customers. Let's create content in a webinar and say, you know, educate people on what we can do with that, with your industry and what there is and what's happening. So if it is about, you know, the best TVs in the industry, let's say, because I'm staring at a TV, you would talk about, you know, the pixelation, the sizes, what kind of channels you can get it. Is it a smart TV? These are the kinds of things that you talk about, instead of saying, this is what I do and this is why you should buy my product, because, you know, there is competition out there. So things like blogs and webinars are a great way for you to collaborate with industry experts, thought leaders, even competitors, and say to them, let's reach those audiences together and share content. If we're thinking of like a SaaS product, it would be talking about, you know, the benefits of the ecosystem. You know, why is it great that you need to automate your marketing versus what our product does. So it's way more interesting for your average person who's browsing the web and they suddenly come across like a bit of content to learn something, rather than say, hey, product, look at this, buy me, it's really cheap, it's going to be free for the next month. You know, people, as Sivan said, they don't clock into that, they're not interested. So create good content. SEO is still very relevant. It's not like how we think about it in the back in the days where it has to be meta tags and things like that. There's many things that come into effect with SEO, and part of it is social media. So you posting on Facebook and Twitter and even on Instagram, and especially LinkedIn if you're a B2B, this comes into the effects of SEO, and Google will present to you because they see that you have activity and relevance. So you know, you still, if you write a blog post, it's still about posting, you know, the keyword within the title and in the first paragraph, you know, basic stuff, but it's not about kind of like drilling this word in and then having meta tags in your website and, you know, really long tail things. So think about that. And also, if you want to like use visual content, it's also, you know, something that you can be creative about. So if you have like an image on your blog, maybe you can use tools like Canva, which hopefully everyone knows it's a great tool that makes you a graphic designer. Graphic designers don't love it, but we do. And you can, you know, you can take that image and then you can just upload it. Something happened with the screen. So you can upload. Oh, did you do something?
Yeah, no.
You can put the blog title text on the image that you're going to use. So it just creates a bit more professionalism. It's visual. It aids with your content. Instagram is a great place that you can be super visual, and I believe that most companies, even B2B, can be on Instagram and kind of tell the right story. So something that I think is vital is to find your happy user. So what I mean is, people are talking about influencer marketing a lot. They're talking about kind of having advocates and people who are giving testimonials. Use this. Now, influencer marketing is kind of like got a bad rep to it because, you know, people are taking tons of money to promote your product. There is a right way to do it. You can ask me about it later. But in general, you know, you have users who are happy. You have people who, without you even asking, are thrilled to use your product, and they probably are telling everyone they know about it. So find out who they are, use them, grab their attention, and ask them to be, your influencer. And they won't, you know, they won't take money. I get emails from TripAdvisor telling them I'm top 10%. I get that little buzz, I keep the email. I don't ever use it in restaurants, but I've been told you can to get a better experience. So they're already telling me I'm an influencer, so I get excited and I use the product more because I want to engage more. So think about how you can kind of like get them involved in any way possible. Either get them to do a testimonial, which nowadays you can write and ask them to approve. It's not about them taking 3 months to write something. You can get them to share your story on Instagram. You can get them to kind of just mention you. I mean, I know I mention products that I love all the time because I love it, you know, so think about that, engaging with them. If we use Instagram as an example, I think it's a good one because it's visual. There's many facets that you can use to tell your story. So they literally have the stories at the top. So these are the little circles of people who, if you do it right as a brand, you can really tell a nice story with your product. You can, tell them what's happening. If you're B2B, you can say, look what's happening in our company right now. We went on a day trip. I think we work as a entity. They do a great job because they tell you what it's like to work there. They tell you what it's like to be a member. They tell you what it's like to be an employee. So you've not only love as a customer to work out of the space, but you're like, I could work there. It's like something interesting. So there's a lot of things that B2B can do. B2C, it's an obvious thing. You talk about the product, you share insights, you tell them about sales, special offers. I'm constantly like swiping up if I see something that's interesting for me. There's many things that you can do with it. You also have the actual image itself that you can, post videos, images. You can do multiple images. There's lots of opportunities you can have. A lot of these things are relevant because you're a business and you're a product and you're trying to sell something. So I wouldn't recommend a person like someone going, and we all see it. We go on Facebook, someone's doing a Facebook Live. I really don't care if my friend is doing a Facebook Live, but if a product or a service that I'm using does a Facebook Live or a Instagram Live, I might be interested to see what's going on. So think about all the different facets that you can use and tell your story. Instagram is a great place for that, and I believe that most companies can kind of really use that as a way to not necessarily get sales, but you can definitely bring an audience in. If you're going to use Instagram, I'll just show you there's different ways that you can do a story. It's a bit more creative and natural graphics and making it exciting for you to post and tell stories. Just be consistent. The one thing that I would say from this is just to be consistent with any kind of content you do, is to be consistent with it and tell the right story, do it often, don't over post, but be consistent so then people understand I'm going to come and I'm going to get something from this. And it works with blog posts, and it works with LinkedIn, and it works with doing webinars. If you expect them to do a webinar once a month, you're going to wait for it, and when you get the email, you're going to be engaged. So think about that in consistency. Is it okay to continue? Everyone taking a picture? You dream of this as a speaker, and that people take pictures of your screens. Just an example, again, I'm using Instagram because it's very visual, but you can see there's tons of ways that you can really engage a user. Now these are specific users, but what you can do is you could take a picture, you can add all these different fun things onto it, and then you can actually assuming they're a brand, these two girls eating pizza, A, I want pizza, and always, but B, you're like, okay, so they're having fun, they're like happy to work there, so maybe I want to buy the product because I see, that they're having fun, they're not miserable sitting behind computers doing a 9 to 5. So these are the kinds of things that you can do. Consider, it works on every platform. People don't really watch Facebook stories. So if you do it, you do it. If not, then just kind of stick to doing regular posts and stuff like that. Again, use hashtags and locations and tag the things that you're using in the stories. Do as many things as possible without kind of taking over the screen, just so then people see that, they can find you, basically. A key thing, and I think it's really important for any kind of product, is to build a community. So using your content to grab people, but also telling the people who are already using your product that they can be part of something, they can be part of potentially the growth of your company, product developments and things like that. Now, specifically what I mean about Facebook groups is, let's say you are a pop-up company, you make pop-ups for websites, so you have a plugin for WordPress. So who are you targeting? It's marketers, maybe young founders, maybe just any kind of startup who kind of needs to send a message out. Also e-commerce. So what I've seen many people do, and we do it as well for our clients, you create a Facebook group. So let's say they're a pop-up, they create a Facebook group called SaaS Marketers. So this is a Facebook group that SaaS marketers can join and learn and contribute and share and get educated. Now, the owners of the group don't pump and say, buy our product, buy our product. They're like, what are the best products you've used? Why do you use them? Let's compare. Who has complementary products? How do you create images? Things like that. So they can input, the customers can input, but also marketers who aren't customers, but they will be one day. So you get them to join the group. You know, a tactic, and I'm sure you've seen it, you meet someone or you are part of another group, and someone adds you on Facebook, and you're like, okay, fine, we seem to have the same interests. You become friends, and then suddenly they like ask you to join their Facebook. 1 minute? Okay. I'll be quick. Facebook is a great place to build a community. Twitter is a very active place for every kind of product out there. Engage with people, add them, include hashtags, everything that's possible, and nurture users. So if you have leads, use email campaigns to nurture them and, you know, kind of drive them to you, and also give exclusive offers and discounts that they will only get because they're loyal customers. Tell a story, so make sure that what you're telling is to the right person. So don't, you know, you're going to waste your effort and not succeed if you're marketing an app for kids to the children, because the children aren't the ones who are going to make the decision to get it, especially if it's like an education app or something. So you need to market to the parents. So just be aware of who your customer is, whether it's the CFO, CMO, or the parent. Make sure you're targeting to the right person with the right messaging. And did everyone get that? Yeah. And because Sivan had mentioned it, and I'm glad we on the same page, there is no such thing as viral, and she said it as well. And please remember this, there's no such thing. Like I mentioned, I used to be in an agency that paid to have you see the video. So they will produce videos by Red Bull, by Nike, by whoever, and we pay to have you see it. So the concept of going viral is very much to do with an algorithm and luck, and it sometimes happens, but most of the time it doesn't. So just create good content that will get you know, your users to be interested, and it just needs a big budget. So just think about that, and just don't worry. Just one more thing before, if anyone has questions. Marketing is about making mistakes. Sometimes you'll get it right, sometimes you won't. Sometimes I do the same methods that worked tremendously well with one client, try them again, it fails miserably. They're like, wait, but I thought you know what you're doing. Yeah, marketing, you make mistakes. You tweak, you figure out, you improve, you test again. So don't worry that you're trying something and it doesn't work. Just, you know, try your luck, see what happens. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, you move on. It's the beauty of marketing. So just be aware with that. Tell your bosses, you see, a mistake I made was fine. Everyone does it. So just don't worry. I think that's really important for everyone to know. And I think that's it. Thank you. You can contact me on Twitter, Instagram, also on Facebook, Stefanie Amini, and my email if you want it. So, questions?
Yeah, first question. So if you're in, let's say, in the service business or consulting or something, how do you decide for the social media channels whether to use your own name, your personal account, or create like a brand account?
So there is, first of all, I mean, whatever you feel comfortable with, but you can create a personal account that isn't your actual personal account. So you can be Steph Amini, but it's not somewhere that I'm connecting necessarily with my friends and family, where I can post what I do and what I love to do and all of these things. I personally don't, because I'm not. I don't market myself. I think people, the quality of content that I bring can feed my cousin in New York and a potential client. So that's just how I do it. But you can definitely separate the two.
So you do everything from your personal?
I do everything from my personal, because I'm not looking to market myself on my personal Instagram.
Right.
But it happens because of whatever reason. Sometimes I mention, oh, I'm at WeWork and da-da-da. My office is at WeWork. It's in itself, it's, driving around a Porsche when they're a real estate agent. So it's the same thing. So these kind of things that I do, I definitely recommend, if you feel more comfortable, to create a separate one in your own name, because ultimately you are the product. If you're a consultant, people aren't buying into an agency. So whatever you're comfortable with, basically.
Thanks.
You had a question? Hi.
Yeah, hi, my name is Amini. Thank you, Stefanie, very much. But the question is, probably you have some life hacks about how to involve brands, especially if you are a startup. That's the common challenge, because if you're lucky enough to work with a brand, that's too difficult to attract them to any type of co-marketing activities.
Okay. So
any life hacks or...
Yeah, I would say don't be afraid to kind of collaborate with your competition and thought leaders within that industry, and say to them, like, let's like work together and do something.
That's it. The idea is that if you're a startup and you are working with the existing client, which is a, let's say, top brand, they will never allow you to share the success story with their brand name.
I see. So like testimonials and things like that. So I mean, you can. There are ways that you can. With one client that I had, that the nature of their company was to not promote the clients because they were cyber tech. So if you tell, hey, Coca-Cola has issues with their cybersecurity, it looks bad. So what they did was that they hinted, and there's not much way around it. They hinted what kind of company it was. They talked about the industry. They gave fake persona as the person speaking. So it's Sarah M, head of sales, from a drinks company. And then you, in the testimonial, you kind of like talk about what it was that you helped with, and people can figure out it's either Pepsi or Coke or now SodaStream or whatever. It's.
And what's about B2B solutions?
So B2B, it's the same concept. Just talk about what the customer said. Be elusive, but also explain that this is genuinely what happened, and just put it out there. The reason why we're not talking about it is because it's a sensitive subject, let's say.
Usually they
one more question, sorry.
We are promoted brands, and we don't want to share our brand value with the startup.
Okay, so I don't know. There's ways, we can talk afterwards if you want, but I want to just bring another.
One more question for Stefanie?
Right. Hi.
Is there a certain critical mass for opening a Facebook group or a kind of community? I mean, we have 30 clients and we're still debating whether or not it's worthwhile trying to.
You mean so then experts in the industry join the Facebook group, or their customers?
Because a direct customer group, I think, would be too small.
Right, no, so I mean, I've used products in the past where as soon as I joined and bought into the product, they added me to a Facebook group, and there I could ask questions and use it as a customer service tool, but also as a hacked, other customers can say we did this and we did that. So if your product allows it and it's a friendly product, then it's definitely go for it, because people understand that it's a closed community and you don't need to have like 20,000 people as a member. So I would go for it, because you're engaging with the customer now directly, and you can give messages, private offers, things like that, hacks of the product. So yeah.
Amazing.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And you can like accost all of our speakers after.
If you see someone who looks like me, it's